talked time and again that everything basically is riding on labor and the environmental movements to basically coalesce together, check their egos at the door, and recognize that the fight is a class war, nothing more, as I like to say.
I have a couple of things on this. I want to tell you the good, the bad, and the ugly, from my opinion, right? I was Stacey Abrams' deputy campaign manager at one point during her run for office and the first time around. And we had this same exact conversation. So let me be very honest, right? Yeah. The one thing that's going to change everything is time, because people are dying. And this is going to be one of the first generations that actually, when these 21-year-olds become 50 and 40 and 60, they're not going to just become more conservative because they understand that the almost fascism of America and almost dictatorism of the Democratic Party has not worked out well for our communities. That's the first thing that's going to fix everything is time, because we're just going to have more people. Unfortunately, evolution works like that. No matter how much they try to, because I mean, listen, this is conservatives. This is some conservatives. This is white evangelicals' last dance. Their church is basically dying at this point, and their ideology. So what happens when you're backed into a wall? You lash out as hard as you possibly can, right? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I do believe environmental environmental and labor issues. But guys, y'all can't forget about something. There's people of color. There's Black folks, and I'm not going to say people of color. I'm going to say Black people.
Black people and reparations.
Yeah, there's Black people and reparations.
Look, I've said this from the very beginning. I actually don't think we're going to move forward until we pay our debt.
It's a curse.
I believe that. I think it is very bad karma. I think, like, from my spiritual self, and I just think it's a real, very basic premise. You owe money, you pay the money you owe. It's not complicated. And so I do not take that lightly. I think it's a very serious thing. And to me, though, in that way, it's just a matter of, we know what needs to happen and we know what's owed. Right? Like, we know that. We don't need an exploratory committee to tell us what people are owed. We already know that number. There has been numbers.
The Democrats, they have to waste a few $100 million on figuring out that we already know what the answer is to, so that they can be paid, and then we can move on to potentially changing it in some way.
It has to get done. So no, what we're talking about in a sense is more in terms of like the actual on the ground movement and getting bodies out there. And it really does come a lot from pulling from those organizations. Labor is just like such a good example of really pushing it right now. But my thought is all of those groups need to come together for all of those issues. But reparations for me is a no-brainer. You pay your debt when it's owed. And I find it very infuriating. So I just wanted to put that out there. Like, I don't discount that as an important thing.
Yeah, I'm actually talking more from a standpoint of political science. And this is what I mean. It's becoming more and more expensive for Democrats to pull out Black people to the polls. Why? Because they haven't done shit. Point blank, right? So therefore, you're going to have more. It's going to become more expensive. One thing that progressives, somebody's going to take advantage of these Black folks that our issues are not being tailored to by the Democratic Party. And I'm hoping it's the more progressive side of the House that actually takes advantage of it before Republicans figure it out in some kind of way and possibly even ever get over their racism and say, wait a minute, all we got to do is not even do it. All we got to do is tell people we're going to do something about the police. Democrats don't even do that anymore. Yeah. It takes a death to happen, right? We have a infant mortality rate of Black women that is the highest, one of the highest in the world for a major country. And we don't put that front and center. We could have been inventing and creating job programs with the excess amount of money that we went and put in Ukraine, or the $750 million that we spent on an election here in the state of Georgia would have helped a national program for folks to have jobs. Candidates should be running on things that help people. And I believe progressives have the natural platform to actually do that. But progressives also have to be very careful of not making the same mistake that the Democratic Party is making. And that is an expectation that no matter what happens, my platform is right. You should automatically come my direction. No. Your platform might be golden, but you have to deliver that platform to neighborhoods so they can actually hear it and see your face on a daily basis and understand that you're a person that we can trust. If we could get that in each city in America, you won't have as many establishment figures. You wouldn't have Hillary Clinton going into South Carolina in 2015 with a 30-point lead, right? When they're right, you won't have that because people are going to say, well, what are you going to do for me? And when it comes down to the Black American community, and I do speak from a Black aspect, I've ran campaigns all over the nation, but I come from a Black aspect because that's my issue. That's my community that I have to work and live in and be in. And when I bring this up from a place of no one's addressing it. And these are easy wins for progressives. If someone were to for instance, Dr. West is a friend of mine and a mentor of mine. Whether you love his run or hate his run, he is a product of the Democratic Party ignoring Black issues.
What he's doing is right. What he's doing,
and it's perfect, and it's perfectly democratic. It is perfectly democratic. What's undemocratic is saying to someone, "Hey, you know what? You shouldn't vote for Dr. West," even though he's saying, "Hey, you know what, Suzanne? I see that you have a family of 3. I'm going to make it so you can support your family of 3 and not necessarily have to pay heavy cost in healthcare, but I'm going to make it free because I believe in that." Right? Why can't that be someone that Suzanne votes for? Why do you have to say, Suzanne, you have to make a decision better for the country more than you have to vote for a decision that's better for yourself? Because the threat of fascism? Well, let me tell you something about fascism. And let me tell you about the Black community. We have been going through this shit since we've been here.
Thank you.
Nothing has changed.
Right.
What do you like? What are you? Are you gonna not have us in slavery? Well, you know what? We're not enslaved anymore. You got the police. You got.
I would actually argue our prison population begs to differ. I would actually argue we are not past that, and that is also part of the problem. And that's when we talk about those things about fixing them. The first step is to stop doing them. Okay, so like policing is the extended arm. I feel like that's sort of the arm of that criminal justice travesty, but it's all part of the process to keep people enslaved.
Right. I mean, and there's so many other issues when it comes down to the struggle of being a person of color, but a struggle of being a descendant of American enslavement that has not changed for our communities in total. When you talk about post-World War II and redlining, when we talk about the war on drugs, when we're talking about Reconstruction, and you think, has there been a moment when these things have been rectified? Republicans and some Democrats would like for you to think that when Martin Luther King gave his "I Had a Dream" speech, everything magically changed.
No, everything's fine now. We had a Black president. Carry on.
Right, and that's not it. And I didn't want to turn this show into that, but I am going to say something. And this is a statistical truth. The biggest swing voter in America right now, and a lot of people don't understand this, is Black men. They're the biggest swing
Not Black women,
voter.
let me tell you. We can't get them to swing, man. Those women, they are fixed.
Right. And they're doing what they think is necessary because Black people vote out of protection.
Yes.
Black people don't vote out of risk. But Black men are tired of it all in general. Yeah. And they are swing voters. And there is a lie and a myth that Black men don't vote, when in actuality, we vote at a higher rate than white men do. Right?
As somebody who is really in this world, there was statistical data that was done, particularly in the 2020 election, that showed that Trump had gained like a +5 to +7 vote share in the Black community that had never been seen before. And what was so stark that no one wanted to talk about is that he got, I think, in excess of like 20% or over 20% of the black male vote. And that, if that's not from a Democratic Party perspective, if that's not a 5-alarm fire, I don't know what is. Because at some point they're just going to say, "Ah, the hell with this shit. You're not doing anything for me." Trump is telling us, "Yeah, you could totally be as successful as me, so just come to my side." And you know what? To them, that's very appealing, especially when when the attitude is, "Well, I've got nothing to lose. I might as well try with this guy. Maybe I might get lucky."
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.